you were present at those sort of botched Eagles reunion sessions, right?
Yeah, it was just a couple of days, if I recall.
Okay, so I guess this is sort of the lawyer portion of the show in case Henley comes calling. So we'll just say allegedly across the board for everything we discuss. You know, settle down, Don. But that's another thing where, like, even in the Eagles documentary, they barely touch on that little attempt at a reunion. Do you remember when Joe got the news that they wanted to put it back together in 1990?
I Everything that I remember, I put in the book, and it was basically that we were at the Bellage Hotel,
Okay.
which was not far from Joe's penthouse in Westwood. And when we, trashed the penthouse until the maid could get there, we'd move into the Bellage Hotel, which is now the London. And I was sleeping, and Joe woke me up, and he's like, "We gotta go, we gotta go." Like, that was the first I'd heard of it. Like,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, like, I think talks may have been going on for a while, but he just didn't want to get his hopes up or something.
Yeah.
I don't think he got one call and it was all of a sudden get your ass there. I think, and plus I wasn't living with him yet at this time. So I was on
Oh,
the road with him. I had my place in Austin, so I'd go home for a week or two and then go with him for a week or two. So there might have been some talks going on when I wasn't with him. And so I got to LA, we move into the Bellage, and all of a sudden wakes me up as excited as can be. Like, I don't know if I'd ever seen him. The only time I probably had ever seen him that excited was when we were going to meet Ringo. And I remember that distinctly
oh,
because at the time I'd known him for about a year, and we had spent every minute of like the first half of that year joined at the hip in Australia, New Zealand. And when Ringo put that band together and it was official and Joe was taking me to meet him, I'd never seen him more excited and nervous. And then again, a year later or so, when he took me to the, I want to say it was maybe SIR, whatever the rehearsal studio was,
mhm.
he was very, very excited. And I did read in Felder's book that apparently it was supposed to have happened sooner, but Joe had missed some dates or something
Yeah.
like that. So I was surprised to read that just because I hadn't been aware of it, but I may have been and I've just forgotten, but I don't think so. I remember feeling like, oh, this is brand new news. I
Right,
wake up
right.
this morning, I'm yanked out of bed and I'm going to meet all the Eagles. And of course, like you said, Glenn Fry wasn't there.
Yeah.
I will say that Don Henley could not have been sweeter. It was the first time I had met him. As soon as he found
Oh,
out I was from Texas, he was, we started comparing notes on Texas, and he was just unbelievably sweet and gentlemanly and gracious. And of course, that's the thing about Henley, is that on any given day, he could be like a total um, uh, pompous, agitated, barking jerk. For no reason. Like, he would just open the door that way, and then other times he would just be the greatest guy you could ever meet.
oh, sure.
Whereas Glenn Fry was just always kind of a aloof and kind of a jerk, that I remember. Of course, when I first met Glenn Fry, I was a crack addict, so putting that in context, and maybe he had every right to be that way.
Well, if yours was the only account that described him like that, maybe, but I've read a lot of things that,
Yeah,
you're
right,
pretty much
right.
in line with.
And Felder and Timothy B. I had toured with Timothy B. as part of Ringo's band, so
Oh,
I
you're
got
right.
to know
That's
him.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he could not have been sweeter. I mean, he was, when he found out, that was when I met him, because he wasn't in Ringo's first band; he was in Ringo's second band, I think.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
yeah, so I met him at the recording studio when the Eagles got back together, and he couldn't have been sweeter either. He found out I was a vegetarian. He started writing down all of his favorite vegetarian restaurants, and even which dishes I should get at which. I mean, for the girlfriend of a rock star, you never know how others are going to treat you. Some will be
Yeah.
a little careful because they don't know how long you're going to last. Others couldn't care less about you. You're just you're just some chick who's in the way of them jamming with their buddy. And then others are just unbelievably sweet, like Townsend and John Candy and Ringo Starr. Felder, I always adored, and I like the way Joe was around Felder because kind of like with Rick, he just seemed to really relax and be himself and just be, happy and comfortable around Felder and Rick the bass player more than anyone.